welcome you very warmly to this the celebration of Manoa's life. We will begin by listening to the eulogies, and then Mass will begin at 9 o'clock.
Wow, Saka. We gather here today in spirit of deep reflection, gratitude, and remembrance. And before we speak of the life we are here to honor, I wish to begin with a thought that reminds us of the meaning of legacy. Our society grows great when old men plant trees in whose shade they shall never sit. Your Grace, Reverend Fathers, Resaka naman marambali na rukutirketi, naturang na kuniwalo nukunitambua, the Manoa Raramba, Excellencies, members of our extended family, friends and families from Pacific Harbour, Lomeri Parish, St. Francis of Assisi sector, Suva and abroad, ladies and gentlemen. We thank you sincerely for being here with us. On behalf of our family, I extend our deepest gratitude for joining us as we celebrate, honor, and give thanks for the life of a beloved husband, father, grandfather, brother, uncle, cousin, and friend. And before I continue, I wish to honor our dear mother, who walked beside him through every chapter of his life through hardship, joy, sacrifice, and commitment to family. And we are deeply grateful for her strength and presence today. Ratu was born on the 11th of July, 1947, in Nambuli, Rewa, a place that was never simply a birthplace for him, but identity itself, Vanua, belonging and responsibility. His full name was Ratu Manoa Rasigatale. He was the son of Ratu Manoa Rasigatale and Rolitiana Kuma. Ratu Manoa Senior, or Ratu Levu, came from the Nakandabu household, a lineage and family that carries cultural weight and recognition among those familiar with Rewa traditions. He was often referred to in relation to that household identity and his chiefly connection to the Vunivalu of Rewa. He was a tall, slim man known for being reserved and a true gentleman. He never raised his voice and always spoke with calmness and confidence. Rolitiana Kuma, or Mbumburo Kuma, came from her own respected lineage within Rewa, from the Rokutuni family of Mburimbasanga, connected to prominent family bloodlines not only in Rewa, but across Fiji, including ties to the Tuinodo and the Vunivalu of Serua. She had a gift for speaking various dialects from around Fiji, including Serua, Nandronga, Ba, and others. To those who may not know what was known within the family, Ratu's mother was partially blind and could only see with one eye due to an accident she suffered in childhood. Despite this, she was known for her strong awareness and sharp perception. It was our Ratu Levu and Bumburo Kuma who laid the foundation for our Ratu in Fijian traditions and customs, which became an integral part of his life. Within Nakandabu, our Ratu was known by relatives and elders as Komai Nakandabu, a name that reflected his connection to that household and his place within that extended family identity. Ratu came from a family of 6 children, being the only surviving son among 5 sisters. His siblings were Roabisaki, Robikameru, Rosalnieta, Rolavinia, Ratu Manoa himself, and the youngest, Rokelera. And that reality shaped him early, not with privilege, but with responsibility. Being the only son, his sisters looked up to him as the head of the household, and they respected and loved him deeply and held him in very high regard. That respect was not only personal, it became generational, as his sisters carried that same respect and admiration into their own families, passing it on to their children, our first cousins, many of whom are here with us today. Momoakuila Buretini, known as Gur, was his first cousin and his only cousin. Ratu Manoa's sister had only one sister who had one son. Momoakuila was always by our father's side until he passed away. His loyalty was profound. He was the brother that Ratu never had. We are truly grateful to Momoakuila and his family. In this way, Ratu's presence and standing within the family continued across generations, grounded in love, respect, and shared identity. Ratu often spoke of his childhood, not with bitterness, but with clarity, and one memory remained with us forever. He would wrap his lunch in leaves, leave it on a tree before school, and sometimes when he returned, it had been eaten by animals. And on those days, he simply went without food. He never told that story for sympathy, but to teach gratitude, discipline, and respect for even the smallest blessings in life. And he would always remind us that food must never be wasted, because there are people in the world who go without it, and gratitude must always be present. Ratu only reached class 8 and did not complete his schooling due to challenges. He would also advise us to always prepare ourselves for the worst and to be ready if difficulties arise. It was proper training for us. He was raised in a Methodist home, and later in life, through Naili Lili in Rewa, he was introduced more deeply to the Catholic faith. He once desired to be an altar boy, but was often refused because he was not Catholic. However, his desire to become Catholic was already forming early in life. He stayed for a time at his elder sister, Nendiabi's home, who was already Catholic, and through their influence, he was exposed more closely to the Catholic faith. In an effort to discourage or delay his conversion, he was later sent to school in Nambua. He never gave up, and eventually he became Catholic, guided by his determination and personal faith journey. As the only son, he faced tension within his own family and was at times nearly disowned by his father because of his religious path. Despite this, faith remained with him quietly and consistently, forming the moral foundation of his life. The name Paula was given at his baptism when he became Catholic. Ratu met our mother in 1975, and what began as a meeting soon became a lifelong partnership built on faith, respect, and shared responsibility. They were married on the 20th of November 1976 in St. Pius Church in Raiwanga, officiated by the late Archbishop Petero Matada. It is moving to see that at his funeral mass, it is being officiated by His Grace the Archbishop. For that, we are profoundly grateful. In their marriage, my mother and my father had their own unique language of love and endearment. One of the most distinctive ways they addressed each other was by calling each other gang. My father would call my mother gang, and she would respond in the same way. It was not a casual word, but a shared expression of closeness that only belonged to them. After their marriage, they first made their home in Nepani, Suva, and later, as their journey evolved, they moved to Pacificaba, Deumba, a place where much of our family life would continue to grow, and where Ratu would also continue to build his work, his vision, and his legacy within the community. He loved Pacificaba. We also wish to acknowledge my brother Tuluke and to sincerely thank him and his family for the decision to remain in Fiji, because being close to Ratu and choosing to remain around him was not only a personal decision, but an act of love and presence during a time when family togetherness mattered deeply. Tuluke has been instrumental in helping me coordinate Ratu's funeral, providing support throughout the process and taking charge of the traditional protocols, as this was one of Ratu's last wishes. We are also deeply grateful to his wife, Amelia, for her tremendous support of Tuluke, particularly during this time of sorrow. Her understanding and encouragement have meant a great deal to our family. For all that they have done, we are truly grateful. Tuluke is named after my father's cousin, Ratuluke Wunreketi. He was once the editor of Nailalakai. It was his cousin who helped him in his career. In return, as a gesture of gratitude for the support he received, he named one of my brothers after him. We also acknowledge my younger sister, the joy Ratu found in traveling to Australia and his grandchildren, Florence, Chris, and Aloisio, and would then be joined by their cousin Tuisoa from Fiji. Those moments were very special to him, and Christmas gatherings in Adelaide became occasions of warmth, laughter, and family connection, where different branches of the family would come together. I would travel all the way from London, and where he was happiest simply being surrounded by his children and grandchildren. My father used to say that we should not boast about ourselves, but rather allow people to speak about us or uplift us. As children, we normally did not speak about him in public. It was kept private. However, this time, since it was my father's wish, spoken to me 2 years ago, that I speak at his funeral, I felt it was time to say something about him. I'm not here to boast about my father, but to share with everyone the kind of man Ratu was. This would be my last opportunity to do so on his day. As children growing up under Ratu's care, we often looked up to him with admiration. But I must also say that there were moments when, in our youthful years, we were a little shy or even embarrassed when people would approach him in public. And sometimes we would quietly avoid saying too much. If people asked whether we were his children, sometimes we would even say we were not related to him. But Ratu, in his own calm and steady way, always reminded us that there was never a need to announce who we were or what we were connected to. He taught us that humility is not something you perform, it is something you live. That achievements do not need to be spoken loudly by oneself, because in time, your life will speak to you. And people will recognize you for who you are, not for what you claim to be. This was one of his strongest teachings to us: modesty, humility, and quiet confidence. And today, as we reflect on it, we understand the depth of that wisdom far more clearly than we did as children. Early in his years, there was something unmistakable about him. In the early 1970s, he became part of a band called Maroc 5, where he was both the lead singer and drummer. The band became well known, and Ratu's popularity as a musician extended beyond the local music scene. It was through this recognition that the Catholic Church invited him and his band to play at Mass. In many ways, this helped pave the way for musicians and contemporary music to become more widely accepted in church services at the time. Even then, people were drawn to him, not only for his music talent and distinctive voice, but also for his presence, confidence, and the way he carried himself. He had a natural charisma that commanded attention without seeking it. There was already something in him that seemed destined for a larger stage, a quality that would continue to shape the many roles he would play throughout his life. Then came the turning point that changed everything, when he met Mr. Victor Carrel and Miss Beth Dean. He often said this was the most defining moment of his life because without it, his path would have been entirely different. Beth Dean, an American aristocrat and internationally renowned dancer, and Victor Carrel, an Australian of Italian heritage, both worked with the Sydney Opera House and opened a world he had never imagined. Ballet, theater, discipline, opera, and artistic expression. They first noticed him at Albert Park, where he was dressed in traditional attire, performing the meke, Fijian traditional dance, and singing. After the performance, they approached him, and that encounter opened a door that would change the course of his life. Through their guidance and connection to the Sydney Opera House, he was introduced to the world of ballet, where his lifelong appreciation for ballet and opera truly began. He later developed a particular admiration for ballet, especially the performances of the Bolshoi Ballet Company from Moscow, Russia. Today, living in London, I often attend performances at the Royal Opera House, and those experiences are deeply connected to my father's influence on my life and to the world that Victor Carrel and Beth Dean first opened to him. When I shared this with him, he was pleased and quietly proud. Victor and Beth treated him not as a visitor, but as family, and that kindness shaped everything that followed. It is because of that remarkable chapter in his life that I carry Beth Dean's name, Beth, as part of my own identity, as a mark of appreciation for the two most influential people in his life. From that moment, his life expanded. He trained overseas, studied theater at the Ensemble Theatre in Sydney, Australia, and in the United Kingdom learned performance, discipline, and artistic expression. This was all because of Mr. and Mrs. Carrel's influence and support. And he brought it all back into Fiji, not as imitation, but as transformation. He founded the Dance Theatre of Fiji in the 1970s, and through it, he carried Fiji onto the world stage. Touring internationally, he represented Fiji's culture, identity, and storytelling with pride and distinction. He became the first Fijian performer to appear at the Sydney Opera House, and also the first Fijian to perform at the Royal Albert Hall in London, where he led his dance troupe in a Royal Command performance for late Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. After these international achievements, he returned home and continued performing throughout Fiji, sharing his passion for culture and the arts with the communities across the country. Yet, he never viewed these accomplishments as personal success. Instead, he saw them as Fiji standing proudly before the world, a reflection of his deep love for his country and his commitment to representing it with dignity and pride. He also contributed to something permanent in Fiji's cultural identity, the Cultural Center at Pacific Harbour, designed as a living Fijian village. From 1978, this initiative began following the success of his performance at the Royal Albert Hall when he was approached by the late Mr. Robert Vendop to help establish Fiji's first cultural center. He later led the design and construction of a Fijian bure at Fiji Village, personally overseeing and building it, which represented Fiji at World Expo 1988 in Brisbane, Australia, and again at Expo 1992 in Sevilla, Spain. This was one of the reasons I visited Sevilla a few years ago to see where our Ratu had once been based. He was accompanied by our Momo Pate, my mother's youngest brother. These were not merely exhibitions, they were statements of identity, pride, and cultural presence. He was also involved in tourism development and served at one stage as a board member of the Fiji Visitors Bureau. In this role, he worked to ensure that Fiji's culture was shared with dignity and authenticity and not reduced or misrepresented. He understood that culture was not only heritage, but also national identity and an important part of the country's economic future. He also served as a board member of Yasana Holdings, where he contributed his knowledge and leadership in service of the community. He was further involved in the inaugural Pacific Arts Festival in 1972, an important cultural milestone that celebrated and strengthened Pacific identity and artistic expression. Ratu also contributed to Fiji's sporting identity in a powerful and often unseen way. He was involved in the choreography and cultural shaping of Fiji's chants and performance expressions for the Fiji National Rugby League team, Bati. These chants were not simply routines or entertainment. They were expressions of unity, strength, and cultural pride before international competition. Ratu also held a deep and rare knowledge of traditional Fijian nautical design and architecture. His understanding of traditional canoe construction, voyaging principles, and maritime cultural knowledge was exceptional. He was involved in the conceptual and cultural development of a traditional Fijian drua, a double-hulled sailing canoe used by our ancestors for long-distance voyages across the Pacific Ocean. Renowned for its speed, stability, and remarkable design, the drua stands as a symbol of Fijian ingenuity, navigation, and cultural identity. During a visit to Hawaii, he met members of the voyaging community associated with the hokulea, the renowned traditional Hawaiian voyaging canoe. Their vision of reviving traditional navigation and sailing across the Pacific deeply inspired him and reinforced his own dream of seeing the Fijian drua sail once again as a living symbol of our maritime heritage. To him, the drua reflected not only craftsmanship, but also identity, navigation, resilience, and the spirit of exploration. There is also reference to his involvement in drua designs associated with cultural exhibition projects, including work that has been preserved or referenced at the Fiji Museum in Suva. To him, these vessels were never simply objects. They were living symbols of our ancestors' intelligence, courage, innovation, and enduring relationship with the ocean. This knowledge remained an important part of who he was throughout his life. He also had a profound understanding of traditional Fijian architecture, the structure of the mbure, a traditional Fijian house, typically built with natural materials such as wood, bamboo, and thatch. This knowledge was not theoretical. It was lived, practiced, and expressed through his work. At the Cultural Center in Pacific Harbour, he contributed to this design and construction of traditional bures, including the mbure kalo, which means house of God in Fijian. In the olden days, it referred to a sacred traditional Fijian house of worship built in the form of a mbure and set apart for spiritual and ceremonial purposes, as well as other village structures within the Fijian cultural complex. These spaces were not built as displays alone, but as living representations of Fijian life, spirituality, and social structure. He ensured that architecture reflected not only form, but meaning, not only design, but identity. He understood that in Fijian culture, a house is never just a structure. It is a reflection of the vanua, family, and connection to the spiritual world. And through his work, he helped preserve that understanding for future generations. He also made a remarkable and deeply creative contribution to sacred architecture in Fiji. he played a role in the redesign and renovation of the Sacred Heart Cathedral that we are in today, including the distinctive stained glass feature depicting the Sacred Heart. Within this design, Catholic and Fijian symbolism are internationally intertwined. The chalice, traditionally representing the Eucharist, is replaced by the Angona cup, reflecting the Fijian ceremonial vessel used in traditional gatherings. The salu-salu, fragrant frangipani garland, is also woven into the imagery, integrated into the rays of light radiating from the Sacred Heart, expressing the meeting point of faith and indigenous Fijian identity. He was also one of the key people involved in the design of the Our Lady of the Assumption Church in Lomeri, a structure shaped like a seashell facing the sea, a design that reflects both spiritual meaning and a connection to the Vanua, the ocean and creation itself. His devotion to the Catholic Church was expressed not only through faith, but also through creativity, cultural interpretation, and service. Ratu composed and recorded 2 music albums, Totonro and Millennium. For the filming of the movie Anaconda in Fiji in 2003, he served as the local liaison officer. During the World Hobby Cat Championship held in Pacific Harbour in the 1980s, Ratu coordinated traditional protocols and the welcoming ceremonies for participants. For the world's toughest race, Eco Challenge Fiji series, filmed in Fiji in 2019, Ratu was tasked with conducting the traditional customs ceremony before the start of the event. One of his guiding teachings was, that we must forgive one another. He was also a peacemaker, often going to villages to help resolve conflicts. Ratu also made contributions to Fiji's national identity through design work that many Fijians carry in their hands every day. He was a board member of the Reserve Bank of Fiji, where he helped decide and the designs and content for the new Fijian currency notes. His contribution ensured that Fiji's currency was not only a medium of exchange, but also a cultural statement, a reminder of who we are as a people and what we value. Ratu worked as a journalist for Nailalakai and the Fiji Times from the 1970s, preserving language, documenting tradition, and protecting cultural knowledge. He served as a board member of the Fiji Broadcasting Commission. He became a trusted reference for protocol and custom, a living archive of knowledge. Even high chiefs and leaders would call him for guidance. Because his memory was precise, deep, and reliable, he had an elephant memory for Fijian protocol, and he believed that tradition, when followed, must be followed fully and not in parts. His commitment to preserving and sharing cultural knowledge also extended to younger generations through the children's coloring book, Boto Hirabondre, The Frog and the Grasshopper, which he wrote to promote language, storytelling, and cultural learning. Due to his contribution to the Vanua, and particularly to Rewa, he was nominated by the province of Rewa to serve as the Rewa representative as a senator in Parliament in 2006. Through his life's work extended across culture, arts, and national identity, he remained firmly grounded in Rewa. As a family, we were incredibly proud of him. What I remembered most, however, was not the announcement itself, but the way he spoke about it afterwards. As he shared the news with us, he would pause from time to time, reflecting on the journey that had brought him to that moment. He spoke about the humble beginnings from which he came, the struggles of his childhood. That evening, he told us that he hoped we, his children, would go even further than he had. He would say that we were fortunate to have received educational opportunities that he himself never had. He told us that there should be no ceiling on what a person can achieve, that where you begin in life does not determine where you can end up, and that if a boy from Nambuli who never attended high school or university, could one day represent his province in the Senate of Fiji, then anything was possible through hard work, perseverance, and belief in oneself. It was a lesson that stayed with us long after that evening, and one that continues to guide us today. Within our family, he was Momo, a maternal uncle whose presence carried authority, discipline, and deep respect. His nieces and nephews loved him deeply, though at times they also feared him slightly, not out of distance, but out of cultural reverence. They often joked that even when he was walking straight ahead or driving with his eyes fixed forward, he still seemed to know everything happening around him. He has eyes everywhere, they would say, on the sides and even behind him, because nothing ever escaped his notice. His niece Eleanor fondly recalls her childhood in the village during the time when our Ratu Levu was still alive. She considers herself fortunate to have had the opportunity to grow up in the presence of both our Ratu Levu and our Ratu. One of our most cherished memories is being carried on our Ratu Levu's shoulders as he walked through the village, a simple yet profound expression of love and care. It is a memory that resonates deeply with us, as our father continued that same tradition with his own children, carrying us on his shoulders when we were young. Some of my first cousins, including Maria, Sebaro, and Walisio Botava, would often jokingly remark on how strict he was. He would encourage his nieces and nephews to complete their homework and make sure they studied every day. He would regularly call them into the sitting room to check whether they had done their homework and were keeping up with their studies. He remained a central figure of guidance within the family, whose presence naturally commanded respect. We also take this opportunity to thank Ratu's nieces, nephews, and extended family for the love, loyalty, and support shown to him, for coming home, standing by him, and holding him in very high regard, as he did for all of you, and for embracing our dear mother and our home as our own. There was Ndiabi, known to us as Saki, who lived with our family for many years, and her role was not casual. It was duty, it was loyalty, and commitment to her Momo. She stayed with him out of responsibility and love, and we are deeply grateful to her. This was also a promise that her late mother, our Nei Romeru, had requested of her to look after her brother. We also wish to extend our heartfelt and sincere appreciation to Saki's siblings, Eleanor, Pita, Semi, and Panapasa, son Osea, and her entire family, for always standing by our Ratu, for their constant presence, and for the love and care they continued to show him, especially his final days. Even now, as we gather to farewell him, you remain beside us, supporting us through the funeral arrangements with the same loyalty and quiet strength. Your presence has meant so much to me, to him, and to all of us as a family. We deeply and truly appreciate you. We also remember the late Mareta Buki from Nukuntumu Rewa, who served our family faithfully for many years. She was not just someone who worked with us. She was someone we depended on, someone who stood by our family through the years with care and commitment. Her loyalty and consistency never wavered. We extend our heartfelt gratitude to Mareta and to her family. We also acknowledge all staff who worked with him in Suva, Pacificaba, the Cultural Center, and wherever his work reached. We sincerely thank the people of Pacificaba, the St. Francis of Assisi sector, Lomeri Parish, and all community members who supported him over the years. Even when Ratu could no longer attend Mass regularly, he received Holy Communion at home every Sunday. We would like to express our sincere gratitude to the Eucharistic ministers who faithfully visited our home each week to bring him the Eucharist. to the village of Nambuli. We would like to express our deepest gratitude to each and everyone for your continuous support and kindness over the years. We are especially thankful for the incredible support you showed during the preparations for the funeral. From the time, effort, and resources you freely gave to the comforting presence and encouragement you offered, your acts of service helped lighten our burden during one of the most difficult times for our family. We also acknowledge the government of Fiji for recognizing his lifelong contribution to culture, arts, national identity, and nation building. Ratu was honored by the state with the 25th Independence Anniversary Medal and the 50th Independence Anniversary Medal, recognition of his enduring service and contribution to Fiji's cultural identity and national development over decades. These honors reflected not just achievement, but a lifetime of service, rooted in identity, heritage, and national pride. Ratu was deeply connected to the sea, the ocean, and the natural world. He carried a lifelong passion for the maritime world, traditional voyaging, and the movement of our people across the vast Pacific waters. Among his many contributions to Fiji and the Pacific, few are as enduring as his role in the creation and success of Utonialo. As a co-founder of the Utonialo Trust, he played a pivotal role in reviving Fiji's voyaging heritage. When Utonialo first set sail in 2010, it marked far more than the launching of a vessel. It was the awakening of a people, a return to ancestral knowledge, and reaffirmation of the deep connection between Pacific Islanders and the ocean. The voyage was guided not only by modern instruments, but by stars, winds, currents, and ancestral wisdom. Before she set sail, Ratu gifted her the name Utonialo, the spirit of the heart. His contribution extended beyond naming the vessel. The inaugural voyage, Vutalanaua, the breaking of waves, was also named by him. The name symbolized not only the physical breaking of waves across the Pacific, but also the breaking of barriers and the revival of traditional voyaging knowledge that had been dormant for generations. His leadership was instrumental in securing the vessel itself. At a time when Fiji could not afford the estimated cost of around $200,000, the owners of the vessels used by the Pacific Islands for the first voyage offered an extraordinary arrangement. Recognizing Ratu's integrity, vision, and commitment to cultural preservation, they decided to transfer the vessel to Fiji for just $1, on the condition that he serve as president of the Fiji Voyaging Society. Through his leadership and reputation, what seemed impossible became reality, ensuring Fiji had its own voyaging canoe and a platform for future generations to learn and reconnect with their heritage. Ratu's commitment extended far beyond leadership. In preparation for Vutalanaua voyage, the crew undertook months of rigorous training. Despite being the oldest member, he trained with humility and determination, often traveling early from Pacific Harbor to Suva to join crew members at the Suva Olympic Pool. He never sought special treatment, instead training alongside younger crew members and leading by example through discipline and resilience. His preparation also reflected deep traditional knowledge and care for the crew's well-being. He prepared and sun-dried seeds of the one-leaf udi plant, carefully browning them so they could be preserved for long voyages. Used during cold nights watches, these provided nourishments and were believed to help naturally warm the body. This practice reflected his understanding that successful voyaging depended not only on navigation and strength, but also on care, sustenance, and ancestral knowledge. He understood that preserving culture required commitment, sacrifice, and the lived practice of inherited knowledge. In 2014, he left the Utonialo voyage to Sydney for the International Union for Conservation of Nature, IUCN, World Parks Congress as part of the Moa Guided by Nature expedition. The voyage carried not just a canoe, but a message from the Pacific about climate change, ocean protection, and the urgent need to safeguard the future. He also produced and hosted documentaries on Fijian history and heritage, including Mai Muri, Mai, and Weniava, ensuring that Fiji stories, voices, and identity continue to live on for future generations. Ratu was precise in the Fijian native language, strict in expression. He spoke Fijian with the refinement and discipline of someone trained at Oxford University in England or in the tradition of the Queen's English. His vocabulary was rich, sometimes complex, and at times we would have to ask him what certain words meant. He corrected us not out of criticism, but out of love for dignity, clarity, and correctness. He taught us etiquette, protocol, and respect. He taught us that greeting was never simply hello, particularly when answering the phone, but nisambula. He also taught us that reputation is reflected in behavior and that you never repay evil with evil, but always respond with goodness, as that will carry you further in life. These were among the last pieces of advice he gave me before I left Fiji to move to London. What felt strict at the time, we now understand as preparation for life. For all his achievements, Ratu also found joy in the simple things. He loved gardening. Many of the trees, plants, and flowers that surround our home today were planted by his own hands. He had a particular fondness for orchids, and although my mother would sometimes generously give plants away to friends and family, it was often Ratu who had planted them, nurtured them, and cared for them over the years. He took pride in maintaining the grounds, cutting the grass, and tending the garden. He also loved rugby, and if the television happened to stop working during an important match, he had a simple solution. He would make his way to Makosoi with two close friends, the late Tata Ben Rambaka and Inoke Rakautina. Tata Ben was married to his late cousin Nana Mere, and Inoke was a fellow Rewan. Interestingly, those were the only people he would visit regularly. Either he would go to Makosoi to see them, or they would come to our home. Their friendship was built on loyalty, familiarity, and many years of shared experiences. He was also an avid reader of newspapers. In fact, one of the first things he would do in the morning was go to the supermarket to buy the newspaper. He might forget to buy bread, but he would never forget the newspaper. He wanted to know what was happening in Fiji and around the world, and he remained curious, informed, and engaged with life right until the very end. He also loved eating meat pies, particularly from the former Castle restaurant in Lami, as well as dishes like red pork, ikabakamiti, and steak, always accompanied by red wine, and also enjoyed whiskey. He loved Chinese green tea, particularly loose-leaf green tea. He taught us how to use chopsticks when eating Chinese or Asian dishes right from an early age. He deeply admired Japan, often visiting and embracing its culture, sometimes answering the phone saying, "Moshi moshi," wearing his white and blue kimono and Japanese wooden slippers. He encouraged us to interact beyond our ethnic group, believing this was essential for growth and understanding. Back in the village, when he was young, he would help his cousin Neranandi make roti. He would often be the one to carefully flip the roti as it cooked, a simple but fond memory that reflects the warmth of village life and the closeness of family. This may seem like small things, but when we think of him now, they are some of the memories that make us smile the most. Ratu loved my mother's family deeply, and they respected him in return. He honored my grandparents with dignity. He supported my mother through her studies while raising young children, and he carried marriage with patience, calm strength, and quiet devotion. We would like to sincerely thank our relatives from our mother's side. We are especially grateful to his brothers and sisters, brothers-in-law, sisters-in-law, and their children, and in particular, the Tungalau family, for always being there for us, for their endless support, and for being a family we could always turn to in times of need. Your loyalty, your presence, and the love you have shown to our Ratu over the years have meant more than we can ever express. We deeply appreciate the care and effort you have given in assisting us with the logistical arrangements for Ratu's celebration. We are immensely grateful. It truly means so much to us. As you remember Ratu today, it is impossible not to recognize the extraordinary devotion of our dear mother. For almost 5 decades, she walked beside him through every chapter of life. Through the successes, the challenges, the travels, the sacrifices, and the responsibilities that came with family life. They began their marriage together, just the two of them. And in many ways, they carried it through the same way, side by side, sharing life fully and privately. Until the very end, when Ratu left us, it was their time together from beginning to end. In the last few years especially, life was not always easy. Age brings its own challenges, and caring for a loved one requires patience, strength, and sacrifice. They spoke candidly about life, about family, and even about what should be done when the time eventually came. There was a deep understanding between them that had been built over many years, a partnership grounded in faith, trust, and mutual respect. And for everything she did for him, and for her loyalty, her care, her patience, and her love, we remain deeply grateful. No one walked this journey most closely with him than our dear mother. We, her children, are profoundly grateful. Ratu also had what many would call the gift of the gab. He was not loud, nor did he speak unnecessarily. But when he did speak, or when he cracked a joke, you often found yourself wondering where all his expressions, phrases, and an unexpected turns of language came from. He would normally say, "Nanongu rara bisa." He had a way of using words that carried humor, intelligence, and timing, and it often stayed with you long after he had spoken. This, he would say, came from Rewa, a place he deeply loved and identified with. And he would often explain to us in his own storytelling way that Rewa was blessed with the gift of speech and communication. His favorite line to us, his children, was that Rewans can speak, persuade, and influence because of this gift of the gab. And in many ways, he carried that gift himself, not through noise, but through timing, wisdom, and presence in speech. He was a true patriot, not in words, but in conviction. He loved his village, Nambuli. He loved his mother's village, Burembasanga. He loved Rewa, and he loved Fiji. And he would always say to us, "I was born in Fiji, and I will die in Fiji." He was passionate. Even though he never wished to live permanently overseas, he shaped our path into the world. He guided me towards Europe, towards London, long before I understood it. And he once told me that I could work for the United Nations one day, and that Europe or London would suit me. When I saw the United Nations on television as a child, he would simply say that if I worked hard, stayed disciplined, and remained focused, it would be possible. Looking back now, I realize he was highly strategic in the way he guided me. He was never pushy or direct, but instead subtle, calm, and intentional in how he planted ideas and direction. At the time, I did not even realize how effective it was, but he was a smooth operator in that sense and a true visionary. During India's Prime Minister, the late Indira Gandhi's official visit to Fiji in 1981, she visited the cultural center in Pacificaba, where Ratu was invited by the government of Fiji to lead his dance troupe in a traditional cultural performance in her honor, proudly showcasing Fiji's rich cultural heritage and customs. We also remember the visit of His Holiness, the late Pope John Paul II, in 1986. During that historic occasion, he contributed to the preparations for the traditional aspects of the visit, including helping to build the Fijian bure, where the Pope and dignitaries were received and seated. Together with his dance troupe, he also played a role in the cultural and protocol presentation on the day, ensuring that Fiji's traditions were represented with dignity, respect, and authenticity. I was present as a child with my brother Tukana, and those vivid childhood memories have never left us. One of our most deeply personal and defining memories was in Brisbane between December 2024 and January 2025, where we had a full family gathering that brought together different branches of the family from Fiji, Australia, and abroad. For the first time in a long time, we were not just visiting, we were present together as a family, sharing time, meals, stories, and honest conversation. We reflected on life, responsibility, and the future. And we even discussed in a very grounded and traditional way what would need to be done if something were to happen, and who would carry out the proper vanua and protocol responsibilities. Ratu had instructed my brother Tuluke to take the responsibility for the traditional protocol arrangements in Rewa if ever required, and I was entrusted with the responsibility of delivering the eulogy, which I am fulfilling today, and it remains one of the most meaningful family moments we ever shared with him in his later years. We would like to sincerely thank my brother Tukana and sister-in-law Leah and her family for hosting us during that time. We are truly grateful. We also remember the New Year's celebrations during that time in Brisbane. It was our first time visiting our Momo Pate, our mother's youngest brother, in his home in Brisbane, where he hosted New Year's Day for the family. During that gathering, our Momo reflected emotionally on his earlier journey to Brisbane, speaking with humility and gratitude. He acknowledged that it was Ratu who had mentored him, guided him, and brought him to Brisbane, and that opportunities he had in life were deeply connected to Ratu's support, something he never forgot. We would like to sincerely thank Momo Pate and Yasenada and family for hosting their New Year's gathering. Ratu shared a close bond with Momo Pate, guiding him in Fijian customs and traditions. We thank our Momo Pate for the love he showed to our Ratu over the years. Ratu was disciplined but loving, firm but fair, quiet but deeply commanding, loyal. He used to tell us that loyalty is paramount and that one should carry that wherever you go. And he had a presence that did not require words to be felt. One of the greatest joys of Ratu's later years was his grandchildren, Florence, Christopher, Aloisio, Meme's children, and Tuisoa, Tuluke's son. To them, he was not simply a grandfather, he was simply Ratu Lebo. A name spoken with affection, respect, and admiration. They loved him deeply, and for reasons that are difficult to explain, they always seemed to have a special relationship with him. And although they knew him as Ratu Levo, they also knew him as someone who loved them unconditionally. Their love brought him great happiness, and their presence brought him great comfort. And today, what remains is not only what he achieved, but what he created in people. His children, myself, named after his late mother, Anita, Tukana, Tuluke, Diaby, and Dimere, Meme. His grandchildren, Florence, Tuisoa, Christopher, and Aloisio. His daughters-in-law, Leah and Amelia. His family, and all those whose lives were shaped by him. We forgive, we thank, and we remember. Ratu, you were born in Nambuli. You lived for Rewa. You lived for Fiji. You lived for your family, and you carried Fiji into the world. To us, you were a loving husband, father, grandfather, brother, uncle, cousin, and simply a friend. Nengay mo demanda Ratu, may you rest in peace. Nengay chiko saka na turang areka pika po, pakai tay baka lotu, resaka nangon marambal na rokutin deketi, na turang na bunibalo, nukuni tambua, vei turang ambale, ubale baka eklesia, mate biokani, keirna nona itokani baka daka and a misa ni tudektale venito Ratu. Keito baka binakasaka baka lebu, ve kemuni ana uni main do bata, ke keito na bubale and a sing ni bitaladi and die. Binakasaka baka lebu, thank you.
You brought your flowers, and this is a good time to bring your flowers, place them beside the coffin. We begin by placing, you've placed your flowers, now we place the Christian symbols on Mr. Manoa Rasigatale's coffin. In life, Manoa Rasigatale cherished the gospel of Christ. May Christ now greet him with these words of eternal life. Come, blessed of my Father. In baptism, Manoa Rasigatale received the sign of the cross. May he now share in Christ's victory over sin and death. Please stand now as we sing together our entrance hymn. Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. The peace of the Lord be with you. Dear friends, welcome to our Mass. Today we celebrate the life of a faithful servant to his Vanua, to the people, his country in Fiji, and to his faith. We want to thank God for giving us a gift of such a faithful life, a life of service. But we know that only one being is faithful and ever faithful, and that is God. As human beings, we aspire to be like God, to be faithful, but we only know too well that as human beings, we fall short of that dream to be ever faithful. And so it is with that in mind, and in the life of Manoa, in his faithful service, and the weakness that we also carry with us in trying to be faithful to God, we begin our service, this funeral mass, by asking God to forgive us our sins and the sins of Mr. Rasigatale. men the Mass. Kalau na tamai ki mami ni tauke ni mbula, ni tauke talanga ni vital no, men balata na buru to doko, ke na nom ni mbula tamata. Ki mami tambore ni vike mniena, na mbula ni dona tamata yanga, ni sulia mai, ya ni mai mbula, no na buana no na dolomani, verto no na bubale. Vike mami kete, na vanua patala ke na vanua ngo viti. Kima tambore ni vike mini na vavi ni vinaka na bukuni sul tali ni mbulongo kim krea muni zingo mi kwai tumberi kwaya na bono ni savaro take na nom ni matantu kim ni mbula ni lewa na ngauna ni bengauna. Amen.
A reading from the book of Sirach. When you come to serve the Lord, prepare yourself for testing. Set your heart right and be steadfast, and do not be impetuous in time of calamity. Cling to him and do not depart, so that your last days may be prosperous. Accept whatever befalls you, and in times of humiliation, be patient. For gold is tested in the fire, and those found acceptable in the furnace of humiliation. Trust in him, and he will help you. Make your way straight and hope in him. You who fear the Lord, wait for his mercy. Do not stray, or else you may fall. You who fear the Lord, trust in him, and your reward will not be lost. You who fear the Lord, hope for good things, for lasting joy and mercy. The word of the Lord.
Shall the second letter of St. Paul to Timothy. As for me, I am already being poured out as a libation, and the time of my departure has come. I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. From now on there is reserved for me the crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will give me on that day, and not only to me, but also all who have longed for his appearing. The word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
When the other 10 heard this, they began to feel indignant with James and John. So Jesus called them to him and said to them, "You know that among the Gentiles, those they call their rulers lord it over them all, and the great men make their authority felt. Among you this is not to happen. No, anyone who wants to become great among you must be your servant, and anyone who wants to be first among you must be slave to all. For the Son of Man himself came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many." The Gospel of the Lord.
Mr. Manoa Rasigatale, as we know, is a storyteller. Tells stories, he's made videos and YouTubes of many stories. It's like a library it's like losing a library, the immensity of his stories. Last night I was going through some of the stories, and one struck me because he told about the story of my maternal village in Talera and Dausam. It's in one of those stories called Weniava, Nadavu Pinati Manatalera. And I saw in the video, it's YouTube, one of my tavales is in that story, Yosef Wakan. And the story goes that I think what must have been, not many people plant peanut around Vitilevu. So Natalera is known to be where peanuts are planted. And so Manoa goes down and does this short video of harvesting peanuts along the flat. What is now today Nataleira Eco Lodge, that used to be a peanut plantation. Very sandy soil, it's very good for peanut. Especially when you harvest, the peanuts don't get stuck in the mud. You just shake the sand and the peanut goes down. And so you can see that one of his stories is called Dabu Pinati, my Nataleira. And so he's a great storyteller, and we'll have to say that with his life gone, there's a library that is burnt down. We lose a voice, a memory, a keeper of wisdom, and through his plays, his poems, and especially his stories, we lose a big library from our midst. There's one story that I'd like to tell. He tells stories of a lot of stories, especially unique ones. I'd like to tell a story about him too. And this is a story that goes just recently, in 2003, we had a big meeting of Catholic bishops in the Pacific, from Australia, New Zealand, and here in the small islands of the Pacific at the Pearl Resort. And so it's a meeting of bishops that happens every 4 years. And as we planned to hold this big meeting, we planned to have Itauke decorated, cultured Mass. So as we know, we inherit Christianity from Europe, and along with that came the culture of Europe. And like the dress that I'm wearing today, this is very Europe. So part of the growth of the church into new worlds, new countries, is to use the local culture of that place. So I planned to have a Mass that has Fijian cultural symbols. So for that, I needed somebody to ask his advice. What are the symbols that can be included in this Mass? So Mr. Rasigatale is one man, one person to go to. So Father Sulio, the Vicar General, and I went to visit him at his home in Pacific Harbor. And as the custom in our tradition, we present ourselves here, we presented ourselves here. But then he even surprised us with the big hospitality that he has. He welcomed us with a tambua. We all know in Fijian culture, for somebody to be welcomed with a tambua is the highest, welcome gesture that you can give to anyone. We were so taken back and humbled of the welcome and the honor that Mr. Rasigatale welcomed us with. And so he was a man that understood that symbols speak more clearly, more stronger than words. And so then we went on to discuss about this Mass that will be colored by Itauke symbols. And so as we entered into this conversation, you immediately see his eyes open, and the energy like rush into his body, because this is what his big passion was about, cultural symbols. And there is a branch of theology that is called inculturation. And it teaches us that the gospel does not destroy culture. It enters into our culture. It purifies some of our culture and allows God to speak through our culture, because our culture is the most convenient, most powerful way that that God can speak to us. At the moment, we still have some of the Western culture that we are using. Some of our hymns, you'll notice that one hymn we sang today has got the voodoo color into it. So many of our Catholic and Methodist hymns are still European, the tune. But God speaks to us and touches our heart through our culture. And so God can reveal himself best in our culture. And Manoa understood this. So we went to the symbols. There were two symbols that he talked to us about that night. One is the ndulali. Do you know what the ndulali is? I think not many of us today know what's the ndulali. The ndulali is the nose flute. So he went to his room and got out a nose flute, the ndulali. He actually played the ndulali. He put the thing over here, only one side, not both the holes of your nose. It's going to make a funny sound if you both plug the ndulali over here. So one side, he made the tune with the ndulali. He told us that this is used by the old Mbete. Before they make their worship to God, they blow the ndulali to chase away all the other spirits so that you only connect with your own ancestral spirit. He said he played this ndulali during Pope John Paul II's Fiji visit in 1986. Okay, thank you, Andy. And to prepare for the Mass. But the ndulali too has a romantic flavor to it. They said in the olden times that you can play the ndulali to attract the women. I don't know whether ndulali, did Mano play the ndulali to you? To communicate through the ndulali. Yeah, so that was